Hello and welcome to the Banker's Tech Talk video series, keeping tabs on developments in the fintech space. I'm Joy Macknight, Managing Editor at The Banker, and I'm joined by Paul Ford, CEO of Acin, a data standards firm for operational risk and controls. Paul, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit about the pain points for operational risk managers?
Yes, I think there's two main pain points. The first is around complexity, and the second is around accountability. So in complexity, there are more risks that firms are facing, and those risks are more complex and more interrelated. That gives an emerging risk landscape that's faster moving than it's ever moved before. And at the same time, from an accountability perspective, the ownership of those risks is becoming more and more precise. So, for example, you're seeing the senior manager regime that's been put in place here in the UK, the LFI regime that comes into the US next year. So the ownership and consequences of those is becoming more focused. So from a firm's perspective, it's harder to be in control, it's harder to demonstrate you're in control, and the consequences of not being in control are really a personal accountability and liability. So those are the pain points.
So can you tell me how Acin really helps that, especially within the banking environment?
Yes, so what we're doing at Acin is we're digitizing risks and controls. So we're taking a data-driven approach to that, breaking the risks down, breaking their associated controls down into some metadata components. And what that does is that gives clearer visibility on what those risks are and how you manage and measure them, KPIs and so on. That allows scalable automation to be put in place. And that transparency allows analytics and benchmarking to be driven from standardized data rather than from a big data mass where you're trying to pull out themes and so on. And then what that does is that allows firms to manage that complexity because you can now trust in the decisions that you're making because they're data driven. And from an accountability perspective, it allows you to demonstrate to regulators that you're in control, and so they too can have trust in those decisions that you're making.
And recently, you've had some big banks, let's say Credit Suisse and also Standard Chartered, join your Operation Risk Defense Network model. Yep. Can you tell me how that works?
Sure. So individual firms run their own 3 lines of defence. So first line runs the control, second the framework, third line internal audit, checking everything that is there that should be there. But that's a single firm view of how you manage risk and the control that you put in place. But your unknown unknowns, to use the Rumsfeld analogy, is somebody else's known unknown or known known. So, but you don't know that until you connect together. So using our data-driven approach, what we're able to do is to bring those firms together, and we act as a hub in the middle using our Acin code, the Advanced Control Identifying Number, as essentially the barcode that allows comparability across the industry. And so there's a sharing and a collaboration of those risks. So I think of it like a virus checker. The first time you download a virus program, it runs across your PC or your laptop, identifies all the things that shouldn't be there. In our case, it's identify all the things that should be there that aren't. And then on an ongoing basis, there's updated virus definitions on a regular basis that keeps you protected. That's how the network defense model works. It brings firms together, and it's a mutual defense network, which is an enhancement to anything that they can do themselves.
Okay. And earlier this year, you rebranded from Antura Group. What was the reasoning behind that pivot?
Acin is a data-driven risk and control business, and Antura was a consulting business. And they're two different approaches. We think of the consulting, people-driven ways of doing things as a kind of artisan process. It's only as good as the people and what they think of. The data-driven is the new way of doing it and thinking about it. And so we wanted to rename to be able to distinguish between that new approach to the way things were being done in the industry. And then we took the name of the key component of our model, the Acin, as the firm's name, and we were very fortunate that we were able to buy acin.com. We rebranded, and that's gone down really well and distinguishes us from that artisan consulting model.
And my last question is really, why do you think RegTech solutions are so popular with banks today?
RegTech is popular because it's an enabler and is not a competition to banks. Some fintech elements, but not all, are actually competing with banks' business models, whereas RegTech is an enabler. I actually think that we're seeing play out a theme that's played out many times in banking, which is there's a new market development, whether it's a revenue opportunity, it's a processing opportunity, or in this case, it's a regulation and compliance opportunity and driver in the market. We see banks hire lots of smart people. That's sort of phase one. You hire an army of really good people who come in, they figure it all out, they kind of make it work. And then phase two is you start to automate that. So we've seen it in electronic trading, we've seen it in straight through processing. You know, we're now seeing it in the regulatory compliance and risk space, where we're starting to automate that away. And we're very fortunate there's a fabulous ecosystem of RegTech providers utilising new technologies that's kind of smarter, faster, leaner. And I think that's in everybody's interest within the ecosystem to make the industry safer.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your insights, Paul.
Thank you very much.